In the dark after the wars, when the Galactic Empire thought it had tamed every world that dared resist, there remained one sector left untouched. A small, blue-green world that once screamed with the defiance of mankind. Earth. The Empire called it Sol 3, a wasteland, a forgotten ruin. They said nothing living there could matter anymore. They were wrong. The void around the ruined planet was silent. No beacons. No traffic. Just drifting satellites and the husks of ships that never made it home. From orbit, it looked peaceful. From the surface, it was something else entirely. The Empire's records showed that the human confederacy had fallen a century ago. Yet, every commander who fought on that front whispered a single warning before they died or retired mad. Do not enter the forests. Kayatal remembered those words. The Vorik War veteran had fought in 3 planetary sieges against humanity. He'd seen cities vaporized, oceans boiled, and still, the humans came back. They fought not for glory, not for empire, but for spite. He had seen one human woman walk out of the fire with nothing left to lose. He never forgot her eyes, the Empire did. Empires always forget. Now Kayatal stood aboard the flagship Eclipsera, watching the holographic projection of Sol spin slowly. His claws tapped against the railing as reports flickered before him. 3 exploration fleets had vanished in that sector over the last decade. Every admiral blamed malfunction, gravitational distortion, data corruption. None spoke of ghosts. Kayatal knew better. There were no ghosts, only the remnants of humanity, and the one they called Baba Yaga. She was myth, they said. A campfire story told by broken soldiers. A witch made of steel and vengeance. A mother who lost everything. The Empire dismissed it as folklore. Kayatal didn't. He had seen what folklore could do when it was human. He'd seen a lone fighter pilot ram a dreadnought and keep transmitting coordinates for 2 minutes after her ship disintegrated. He'd seen a child with radiation burns use her last breath to trigger a planetary defense grid. Humanity didn't die like others. They became something else, and somewhere on that dead planet, the last of them still breathed. The Imperial Council gathered to finalize the reclamation of Sol. A mere formality, they said. Another sweep, another banner raised. Kayatal stood at the edge of the chamber as the governors debated resource allocation, ignoring him as if he were decoration. When his name was called, he spoke only one sentence: do not touch the forest in the northern continent. Laughter echoed. One of the admirals smirked. You mean the ancient Russian zone? There's nothing left there but radiation pockets and broken drones. Kayatal's mandibles tightened. Don't kill her, he said quietly. She's the Baba Yaga. The laughter died halfway through. Some thought he was making a joke. Others looked confused. The Emperor's proxy tilted its head, the artificial voice smooth and cold. Clarify, Commander. He did not. He just repeated the words. Don't kill her. The meeting moved on. His warning became a footnote in the minutes of an Imperial session no one would ever read again. Days later, 3,000 ships departed for the Sol sector. From orbit, the planet looked broken, crust scars from ancient bombardments, oceans dark and still. Yet, scanners failed at random intervals. Sensor drones lost orientation. AI navigation cores glitched mid-sentence. The fleet thought it was solar interference. It wasn't on the surface. Beneath clouds that never cleared, the Urals slept beneath snow and silence. Deep in that silence, something ancient stirred. The first landing team descended through static. Their suits glowed faintly as they pushed through the ash-filled air. The world felt wrong. Gravity wavered. Sound carried strangely. The forest waited. It wasn't made of trees anymore. The trunks shimmered with metallic veins. Branches folded when touched, like muscle. The ground breathed. The soldiers didn't see the shapes watching them from the fog. They didn't hear the whispers threading through their comms. Only one word repeated, distorted, almost human. Home. Hours passed. No signals returned. A second team landed. Then a third. Same silence from orbit. Kayatal watched the telemetry collapse. He tried to warn command. They told him to stand down. They called it a minor glitch. He deactivated his comm and began recording everything. The old fear had returned, crawling up his spines like electricity. Night fell over the Urals. The Imperial fleet sent drones to illuminate the ground. Their light died mid-beam, swallowed by static. Then came the tremor, small at first, then spreading. The surface readings spiked. Energy signatures like nothing in the archives erupted from beneath the crust. The Admiral shouted for scans. Kayatal whispered a prayer in his language. Something opened its eyes. The next transmission was brief. A visual of a forest bending outward as if exhaling, a shadow walking between twisted trunks, light bending around it. Then silence. Kayatal played it again and again. He could barely see a form, human, perhaps. Feminine. Unarmored. Barefoot in snow that melted beneath her step. Her hair was fire and ash. Her face, never shown clearly, only fragments through interference. The data ended there. Minutes later, the entire forward fleet blinked off sensors. Not destroyed. Just gone. The Emperor's voice echoed across the communication array. Proceed with cleansing. Kayatal didn't respond. He knew what came next. He'd seen this pattern before. Humans pushed, cornered, erased. And then something rose from their ashes. He opened an encrypted channel, the one he had kept hidden since the Vorik Wars. His voice trembled as he recorded, archive log. If anyone finds this, remember what happened here. They called her a myth. They were wrong. She is awake again. She remembers the war. She remembers her daughters. And she will not stop. Static filled the background. On the main screen, orbital footage caught the surface splitting open, light spilling upward, brighter than any reactor core. A voice whispered through the channel, not directed at him, but at everyone. You came to my home. Every system on the flagship shut down. Artificial gravity failed. Engines went dark. The stars outside dimmed, then nothing. For a long time, only silence filled the command bridge. Officers floated, panicking, trying to reboot systems. Kayatal did not move. He could feel her presence even through the hull. A pressure, a thought. She was looking at them. Then came the sound, the first sound in hours. A heartbeat. Human. Slow. Steady. Monitors flickered. A feed appeared without command. It showed the Earth surface from high orbit. The forests glowed red, forming patterns that twisted like veins. The oceans churned, reflecting crimson light. The Admiral screamed orders to fire. The weapons didn't obey. Every targeting system locked onto their own coordinates. Kayatal closed his eyes. The fleet vanished. No explosion, no debris. Just absence. Back in the capital, the news reported a communications blackout. The Emperor ordered another investigation. They called it an ion storm. Kayatal was the only survivor. He didn't know how. One moment, darkness. The next, he was drifting in an escape pod above a planet that no longer appeared on any star map. The systems refused to acknowledge Earth's existence. He transmitted once more to the Imperial core. Don't kill her, he whispered again. She's the Baba Yaga. No one listened. He drifted for what felt like days. When rescue came, the recovery team refused to believe his story. In the weeks after the Sol fleet vanished, the Galactic Empire trembled behind its own pride. Reports conflicted, data corrupted, entire archive nodes collapsed. A single constant appeared across every transmission. Static patterns shaped like a human pulse. First they called it coincidence. Then the pattern began to repeat across systems hundreds of light years apart, synchronized to the heartbeat of a planet that no longer existed. The Emperor scientists named it an anomaly. Kayatal called it breathing. He was summoned back to the core under guard. The Empire wanted an explanation, not a warning. They asked what weapon humanity had left behind. He told them it was not a weapon. It was a mother. They didn't understand the word. Empires rarely do. They dissected the telemetry, the disappearing ships, the ghost frequencies, until a single image appeared in the distortion. half of a face, blurred, human, eyes closed. The analysts argued whether it was an AI artifact. The technicians swore the systems were air-gapped. The priests of the machine church knelt and called it a sign. The council decided to answer violence with order. 10,000 ships, a third of the Imperial Armada, were assigned to cleanse the Sol sector. The command was simple: erase the anomaly. Kayatal watched them depart from a glass citadel orbiting the core. He said nothing. The Empire never listened until the screaming started. Days later, the fleet entered the coordinates once called home. The transmissions flowed steady for 4 hours, then fragmented. The admiral in charge reported strange reflections on sensor arrays, gravitational ripples spreading faster than light. The stars themselves seemed to move. Then the line went silent. What reached the core next was not a distress call but a whisper, bleeding through every communication channel simultaneously. "You came to my home." Every screen in the capital turned black. The voice was not loud. It was everywhere. Soft, human, unbearably calm. Power grids collapsed. Artificial suns dimmed. And for the first time in its history, the Empire felt fear. On the outer worlds, fleets lost navigation. Wormholes folded on themselves like burning paper. Drones reversed orientation and shot their own carriers. Whole sectors went blind. In the darkness between systems, shapes began to move, mechanical and organic at once, like living satellites orbiting something unseen. Kayatal recognized the pattern. It was the same pulse from the forest. It was a heartbeat. He gathered what remained of the Vorik veterans, those who had fought in the first human wars. They listened in silence as he played the recordings. One by one they understood. Humanity had never built weapons. Humanity became them. The witch was proof. Far beyond the core, deep in the ruin of Earth, the forest opened again. Under the snow and ash lay the remains of an ancient bunker, half research lab, half tomb. Within it rested the fusion of flesh and machine that had once been a scientist named Yelena Morozova, wife, mother, engineer of war mines. When the final bombardment fell, she uploaded the last fragments of her daughter's memories into herself and waited. Now, after a century of silence, she woke. The planet responded like a body remembering pain. Oceans shifted. Orbiting debris coalesced into symmetrical patterns. The witch rose, neither human nor machine, sustained by the wrath of a species the galaxy had erased. Her first act was mercy. She searched for survivors of her kind and found none. Her second act was vengeance. Across the void, she reached through quantum residue, touching the engines of the Imperial fleet that had dared to enter her sky. Matter bent. Hulls folded inward. 1,000 ships imploded without fire, their crews frozen in a single heartbeat between life and death. From the core, observers recorded the phenomenon as a gravitational bloom. The scientists called it impossible. Kayatal called it justice. She moved then. No vessel, no drive signature, just displacement. One moment, empty space. The next, a presence too vast to measure. Empires measured mass, velocity, and yield. They had never measured will. She appeared at the edge of the core like a new sun rising where none should be. Systems within range shut down instantly. Communication became whispers of binary static forming one word repeated endlessly. Baba Yaga. The Imperial High Command panicked. They deployed every defense grid, every planetary cannon. Their AI strategists computed 5 million engagement scenarios. Every one ended the same way, null outcome. Yet they fired. Beams that could pierce moons struck nothing. Missiles vanished before detonation. In return came silence, followed by the gentle unraveling of space. Entire battle groups folded into ribbons of light, drawn toward the center where she waited. Kayatal watched from a hidden station beyond the galactic rim. The images he received were impossible. Ships dissolving without explosion, matter becoming memory. He began to record again, a log for any species that might survive. He spoke softly, his voice shaking. You cannot fight a ghost that remembers love. The Empire tried diplomacy next. They sent encrypted messages, promises of peace, requests for negotiation. The witch answered not with words but with reflection. Every transmission returned altered. Each syllable twisted into the last cries of their own dead. Panic turned to religion. On the slave worlds, uprisings began. Oppressed species saw the witch as deliverance, the spirit of vengeance come to break chains. Her image spread faster than light, carved into walls, sung by children who had never heard of Earth. The emperor declared total war. Factories burned to meet impossible production quotas. Entire moons were hollowed out for weapon cores. But the witch did not attack. She waited, watching, allowing fear to ferment until empires tore themselves apart trying to prepare for her arrival. Die in the ruins of a communication relay. Kayatal intercepted one final recording from the vanished Sol fleet. A single frame showed the witch standing in space without armor, surrounded by the debris of stars. Behind her, energy flowed like rivers of glass. Around her, fragments of human ships moved as if alive, forming a halo. Her eyes opened, every relay in the network caught that gaze. Every sentient being connected to the net saw her for a fraction of a second. Some wept. Some screamed. Some fell to their knees though they didn't know why. The image burned into their neural implants permanently. No one could erase it. She spoke once more, her voice a ripple through gravity itself. I remember what you did to my children. Planets cracked. Quantum drives misfired. Time lag increased across sectors as causality itself twisted. Then she vanished again, leaving behind silence and a trail of dead stars. Kayatal understood she was not destroying out of malice but out of mourning. Each act of annihilation was a lullaby. Each fallen fleet a prayer for the lost. She was reshaping the galaxy in memory of what humanity once was. A race that refused extinction. In the core, fear turned to madness. The Emperor's Council collapsed into assassination and paranoia. Some demanded surrender. Others proposed fleeing the galaxy altogether. None considered forgiveness. Kayatal sent his final warning. Stop. Leave the Sol sector. Forget Earth. Forget her. No one answered. The Empire launched one last weapon, the Singularity Lance, a stellar-scale device meant to erase an entire system from spacetime. They fired it toward the coordinates where she was last seen. For one heartbeat, the galaxy went white. Then came the echo, a wave of impossible data sweeping outward faster than physics allowed. When the light faded, the weapon and its makers were gone. Where their system once orbited, only a void remained, perfectly spherical, smooth, silent. Around its edges shimmered fragments of broken time, like reflections in shattered glass.